Hello everyone, Happy New Year. This is the first video for my channel for 2019. I hope you had some good celebrations for the new year, and I do hope you all have a happy and prosperous 2019. I thought in this video I would just talk about what it's like to study law at Cambridge. For those who don't know me, I'm Kieron, and I studied law at the University of Cambridge. I'm a first year student, and I am part of Homerton College, one of the many colleges at Cambridge. So as I said, I'm a first year student, so we look at 4 main modules, and then there's also an additional module known as legal skills and methodology. So the first of those modules is that of constitutional law. So constitutional law, we've been looking at things such as parliamentary sovereignty, and so for example, we look at devolution as well, and how those two relate. So very much, even though we look at principles somewhat individually, we think about how they connect with one another. So how does devolution affect parliamentary sovereignty? But we also look at different ideas of those principles, so the different conceptions that people have of what parliamentary sovereignty is, and what it encompasses, and what it includes, and therefore what the implications that might be for the relationship, for example, between devolution and parliamentary sovereignty, or between EU membership and parliamentary sovereignties. And I certainly found that interesting, looking at the different debates around it, the different conflicts, and well, not conflict, debates is probably the better word, the different conceptions and theories that people have. The second of the modules is what is known as Civil Law, Civil Law 1. There is the option to do Civil Law 2 in second year. Civil Law 1, for those who've watched my Study With Me video, you'll know that Civil Law is referring to Roman law, so the law that was used by the Romans. You may be thinking, why on earth are you looking at the law from hundreds, thousands of years ago? And one of the reasons is that Roman laws had an effect on our legal system, and quite a lot of foreign legal systems as well. So it's very much still relevant today, as it certainly was back at the time of the Romans. And for the first term, for like last term, we've been looking at the Roman law of property. So so you might have seen it in that Study With Me video for those who watched it. The ideas of ownership and possession. I did some work on servitude. That's another aspect of the Roman law of property. In next term, we'll be looking at the Roman law of contract and delict. Delict is what is known as tort, and again, I found that quite interesting, looking at the different laws and just looking at kind of like the different theories on it as well. There is theories on it because we rely on the institutes of Justinian and Gaius, for instance, and looking at kind of like what they declared the law as being. But we also look at how the law changed over time. So from the monarchy into the republic and into the empires. So that's definitely been interesting to look at. The third of the modules that we study is that of criminal law. So criminal law, we've been looking at offences of murder and involuntary manslaughter, but we've also been looking at the defences for murder, so the ones special for murder, so loss of self-control, diminished responsibility. Again, that's it's interesting not just looking at also the law side of it, thinking about, for example, what the law actually is for murder and what you actually need to prove in order for someone to be convicted of murder. But it's also looking at the criticisms of it, the flaws of it, and the different ideas that people have about what a criminal law should be. So the ideas of fair labelling or the ideas of blameworthiness. The fourth module is that of tort law. So unlike obviously the Romans who used the term delict, we just use the term tort law. And what we've been mainly looking at in my class term was was negligence, so duty of care, the breach of that duty, and causation and remoteness. But we also started looking at, so we actually finished off, say on the lecture side of it, looking at occupiers' liability, and we'll be looking at in next term things like contributory negligence and voluntary assumption of risk, which are defences available in the law of tort. I've certainly enjoyed looking at that. We've looked at there's certainly been a lot of recent cases that we had to assess their impact on the law, of for example, of negligence. In terms of the lectures, so lectures, obviously, you're not forced to go. There's no register, if you're there or not. But it's, they certainly advise us that when we, at the beginning of term, they advise us that we should really be going to all our lectures. And for me, it's been, beneficial to do so. So not only do they expand and give some information about the cases that are on the lecture notes, the lectures you'll get for every new topic, you get lecture notes. I have all the information that what the lecture will be going through. But what the lecturer also does is expand on the cases and often gives their own opinion of that particular law, of that particular case, and that can be sort of useful for you to think about when you're criticising the law in essays, for instance. It is amazing, and this applies to other universities as well. For example, I was reading one of the books when I was looking at Parliamentary Sovereignty and the Rule of Law, and the book that I was reading was by the very same person who was doing our lectures on that topic. So it's quite an interesting experience in that sense. Sometimes I'll say when there might be a conflict of events, you might not be able to go to lectures, but obviously for me, it's been important that, and I'm glad that I've gone to the lectures for law. In terms of supervisions, I have 2 supervisions a week. It's alternate. So in the first week I have supervisions for criminal law and constitutional. Those are generally on the Wednesday. And then in the second week I've got supervisions for tort and civil. So the tort is on the Tuesday and the civil is on the Thursday. They are at different colleges, so it does require me to travel a bit. But it's good to see the other colleges. So for example, my tort supervisions are in Jesus College. I have my Roman law at Clare Hall, and I have my constitutional at Hughes Hall. But luckily my criminal law is at Homerton, so at least I don't have to travel out too far for that supervision. Supervisions are generally an hour. Sometimes they might overrun a little bit, but that might often be because you're just discussing something and you're really in depth into that discussion, or if you just have some questions. And I know the supervisions are really good. At first they were daunting. You've got no idea what to expect. Supervisions are quite unique for Cambridge. There might be similar systems in other universities, but certainly the supervision system at Cambridge is quite unique for them. It is daunting at first, like I said, but it's a good opportunity if you've got any concerns, if you anything you're unsure about, you can obviously ask them, and if you don't understand something, it's not showing that you don't have the intelligence for it or anything like that. It's not showing that. It's just showing that you just need some clarity and you just need them to explain it. Maybe you prefer things to be explained, verbally rather than trying to understand it from a book. But it's also it's a good opportunity for us to go through the questions. So what happens is we get work set beforehand. It will require us to look at the textbooks. So those textbooks I've just shown you, I often will read through them. Make notes on the topic that I need to look at for the supervision. They give us cases to look at. So one of the things that we do, as part of studying law, is reading the judgments of cases and looking at the reasoning that the judges have come to in that case. Whether or not we think about whether or not we agree with their reasoning. Does their reasoning make sense? Is it consistent with with each other? Or look at why some judges might dissent, i.e. they might not agree with the overall reasoning, overall decision of the majority in a particular case. So we get cases given, and we also get questions set. And for example, in criminal, our supervisor often, one of the first things he asks is, was there anything that you weren't sure about? Is there anything like you were to go through? And that could be a question. So could we go through this question? Or I would like to talk about this case because I found it very interesting. It just it leaves us open to us to kind of drive the supervision and in terms of what we want to look at and what we want to focus on. And then the supervisor will give us help about how to structure something or how to approach a particular question and the kind of ideas that we need to be thinking about. Each supervision is different. So some of the for Roman law is similar. The supervisions the supervisor gets us to ask the questions rather than him asking the questions. But each supervisor is different. Obviously, it's been, and we were taught, just important just to accommodate ourselves to the different styles that each of the supervisors have for the supervisions. And like I said, they've been really helpful. I've come out of supervisions, knowing a little bit more and being a lot more, having been clarified a lot more on a particular topic than I was when I beforehand, before the supervision. The workload, as I mentioned, quite a lot of the work will be often involving preparing for the supervision. So reading up on the textbooks, making notes. So what I like to do is I'll read the textbook. I'm often I've bought some of the textbooks. I like to highlight and colour code, just to help me pick out the key points, and I make notes on that. I type my notes up. That's what I prefer. And then I will look at the cases. I will then bring that information together, onto a document for supervision, and then I'll look at the questions. Once I've done all the work that I need to do, I'll go over it just to check it before the supervision. I'll read through it, and just so that I've got some points ready for discussion in the supervision. I like to get prepared pretty much as soon as I can, really, as soon as I've got the work. I don't really like doing it last minute. Not my style. I like to be prepared, and sometimes if I get it done and I'm happy, I might even start preparing on the next supervision. But that's just the way I like to do it. I like to be prepared. We'll have exams at the end of the year. These are 3-hour exams. We answer 4 questions for each of the modules that we are doing for each of the main modules. 3 hour long. We get essay questions and problem questions, but that varies on the paper. So for example, constitutional has a lot more essay questions in it, whereas criminal has you have to answer 2 essay questions and 2 problem solving questions. So they'll give you a scenario and they'll ask you to apply the law and your understanding to the situation. So identifying the offences that may have been committed, the defences that might be available to each of the individuals in the scenario. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of explain what studying law is like at Cambridge. Maybe some similarities to law at other universities, but also there'll be some differences between universities. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a like. Don't forget to comment in the comment section below if you've got any questions or anything you weren't sure about. If I mentioned something you weren't sure about quite what I was seeing, I can happily answer what questions that I am able to. Please also subscribe to the channel. We actually passed the 100 subscribers milestone this week, which is fantastic. I'm so pleased. I didn't actually expect to get 100 this quickly, so thank you everyone who has subscribed so far. If you would like to subscribe, just please click on to subscribe here, and if you want to see some of my previous videos, I'll have a link to the Study With Me video that I mentioned here.